Welcome to Getting Work to Work, a weekly podcast that explores the creative and curious world of work through monologues and conversations with artists, creative entrepreneurs, storytellers, and changemakers. What is the connection between your current hydration level and how you feel? What role does sleep play in a healthy life? How can you prepare your body for a long-lasting creative career? The answers to these questions are all related and just might surprise you as they did me. Desiree Lotz is a detox specialist and nutritionist whose primary purpose is to help people get their bodies sorted out, to get their attention off their issues, and live their lives. In this conversation, she shares her passion and knowledge for nutrients, minerals, and health in order to fully live our lives, because life is fun. Show notes and links to all the good stuff mentioned in this episode can be found at GWTW575. Desiree, welcome to Getting Work to Work. It's so wonderful to talk with you today.
Thank you. You too, Chris.
Well, I love asking this question to everyone I talk to because the answers are always so different. But what are you endlessly curious about?
Well, I'm always on an adventure and I've got goals in life. So as long as I'm working towards those, I'm happy. And then, of course, there might be questions regarding some of those things. Then, then I might have to dig in a bit more.
Yeah. Where does your sense of adventure come from?
I don't know. I'm African American, but I got a bit bleached in the sun, so I'm a white one. And I was born in South Africa, and I've always been a little bit of an adventurous spirit and sporty person and helping people person. So it's kind of like it's been there. So I don't even know how to answer where it comes from. It's just me, you know.
It's just part of who you are.
It's me, yeah.
Yeah. What have been some of your favorite adventures?
Well, I've helped people with their bodies for a long time, and helped people to get off drugs, and help people to get the leftover particles out of their system through a specific detox program, and just also getting people to basically keep their eye on the mountain and keep their mindset and their goals, keep their eye on the mountain and not get pulled into all this nonsense that's going on, you know?
Yeah.
Because then what happens is you lose sight of your goals and you get all, and I also encourage people not to watch mainstream media, not to read the press, because they're merchants of chaos, and all it's going to do is stir you up and make you feel like bad.
Yeah.
So those are my kind of things that I enjoy doing. And recently, about the beginning of the year, I've been doing my product CalMag for many, many, many years, decades now, and helping people get off drugs and stuff. But then at the beginning of the year, somebody who's been buying the CalMag from me, like a lot of it, she got in touch with me, and she works with veteran soup kitchens.
Oh, wow.
And I found out something very interesting, which I never thought of myself before. They make the CalMag and put it in the soup for the veterans and even the dogs and stuff, So it opened the door for a whole new adventure for me. And, so she came we physically met last week. She came to visit me for a few days. And I introduced her to my manufacturer, and they also happened to my manufacturer and his partner are totally oriented towards helping veterans. So it was a beautiful alignment, you know?
Yeah. So, and it sounds like you weren't even looking to make that connection, but yet you facilitated it.
It came out of the blue, and it was like, oh my gosh. And now I just downtown in where I live here, I also found out about they working to get the homeless people. There's a whole bunch of places, churches and stuff working together to build places for homeless people and getting them to do the work. And that just so aligns with my thinking. So I only just found out about that. So I'm now got another thing that I can focus on.
Well, what is CalMag?
It's calcium and magnesium with vitamin C, but the calcium in the CalMag in my CalMag is a very specific form of calcium. It's called calcium gluconate. And it is the most powerful painkiller. It's even more powerful than morphine.
Wow.
But you'll never see that anywhere, because you can't patent
marketing campaign.
Anyway, so the mixture of the calcium and magnesium, because minerals are generally alkaline, the vitamin C is in there to adjust the pH and put it into the mid-range. Then you dissolve the powder with boiling water, and then you drink it, and then it absorbs instantly into the body. So people with all kinds of problems, babies with colic, women with female hormone drama, men too, they also get it, and aches and pains and can't sleep. And there's so many things that CalMag works for. And then my adventure, because I'm a detox specialist, and when you're putting people through the program, because it's done in a sauna, and there's several hours a day in the sauna, you can only imagine you have to keep an eye on the dehydration factor. And so I was doing that for many years, and I knew that data. But in the last 10 or so years, I found out something more interesting, that you need to have, basically dehydration is a very interesting problem, because I never knew this. And then one day I was in the course room, and it was very comfortable in the morning when I arrived in the course room, and all of us were sitting and doing our course and stuff. And then as the morning progressed, it started to get more and more uncomfortable. And I noticed that people were going to the air conditioner button and lowering the air conditioner to making it colder. And suddenly it smacked me right between the eyes. Oh my goodness. Air conditioning is the biggest dehydration culprit.
Really?
Yeah, because what's happening, and I mean, in the 1977, I flew to Spain, and I was pregnant with my first child, and I just flaked out on the plane. I had to call the doctor and help me, blah, blah, blah. Then suddenly now, when I saw this happening, I suddenly realized what it was. The airplanes, the hotels, the airports, everywhere, and in Florida especially, you have air conditioning. And what is the job of the air conditioning? Its job is to take the moisture out of the air. So it's sucking the humidity out the air. But what's the biggest moisture-carrying object in any space at any given time? The human body.
Yeah.
So it sucks it and it sucks it and it sucks it. And then, of course, there's more and more in the air. So you got to make the air conditioner colder because it's more and more uncomfortable. And when I saw that and I had this major realization, it totally gave me so much more info. So in my drinking water, I always put Celtic sea salt. I put enough in, and I encourage people, and I test people. Do you know what applied kinesiology is?
No.
It's another word for it could be muscle testing. So you use the person's arm and you put pressure on their arm, and then you check certain points on their body to see if the arm stays strong or it goes weak. And 99% of people I test for dehydration, their arm goes weak. So almost everybody, and then you've got things like Gatorade and all that. That is such poison, and that is a big dehydrator. Coffee and sugar and all those things are dehydrators as well. Over the years now, I've learned this, and I've helped people get hydrated just with a simple action of testing. I even had a lady from France. She came to see me many years ago to check, because they hear about me kind of down here. So I tested her, and she wasn't allowed to go into a specific building here in Clearwater because her blood pressure was so high. So, I mean, that's quite dramatic. So she came to see me. Yeah. So when I tested her, she was so dehydrated. I used to have these little glass ampoules. It's like a glass. I don't know if you know what an ampoule is. It's a little glass thing that you break open the end, and then you can suck out whatever's in
Okay.
there. So I used to have those seawater. They came from the Celtic Sea, called sea electrolytes. And when I tested her, she needed 8 of those to
Oh,
handle
wow.
her blood pressure. But then she called her doctor in France and he said, no, you can't take that. Your blood pressure, no salt, blah, blah. And it went on like that. Anyway, she didn't listen to him. She listened to me. And the next day, her blood pressure was down and she could go into that building. So, it's I've got a list of dehydration symptoms. It's almost 40, and blood pressure is one of them. Yeah. If you look at it, it's probably the symptoms for many illnesses that people get put on all kinds of medical drugs for, and even fuzzy and even emotional stuff. So you never know. People might be put on psychiatric medication because
They're just dehydrated.
Exactly. And I've seen that so many times. It's so real for me. But obviously anybody who doesn't know, it might be a little bit weird,
Right. Well, you don't really think about it because if you're drinking things all day,
Yep.
you might attribute that to, well, I'm being hydrated.
Yeah, that's a good one too, Chris, because if I ask this question to many people, can drinking water dehydrate you? And what do you think?
Oh, wow. I never really, I'm going to say no.
Okay, so the answer is actually yes.
Huh.
So here's the reason why. Because you drink, and I'm going to use the word pee. I hope that's okay. You can tell your listeners that I'm South African.
Okay, just be yourself.
So you drink, you pee, you drink, you pee. So what's happening? You're losing more and more minerals out of your body.
Okay.
So the salt has got like 80 minerals in it. So when you're drinking the water, you need the minerals to pull them into the cells. So you're not just keep losing more and more minerals like being washed out.
That's why you put salt in your water then.
Exactly. And I educate people. I tell them, and a lot of people are told drink 3 or 4 gallons of water a day. I just like, I want to smack my head in, like, oh my, it's so crazy.
And half of a salt lick.
Yeah. So what I teach people, I have, those Synergy kombucha bottles. I have one. It's about a 16-ounce bottle. Okay. And on average, I might drink that and a bit more. But what you do is you put your water in the bottle, decent water, obviously, and then you put the salt in it, and you put as much salt in so the water tastes pleasant for you. If it's too salty, obviously that's too much salt. If it's flat tasting, that's not enough. So you'll find your own happy medium. That's what your body wants, because your taste buds are the telling story. They guide you. So if you haven't got enough, because the water's lost so much minerals too out of our streams and our rivers, but that doesn't even matter. The point is that your body will tell you how much you need.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So when our bodies are dehydrated, you said there's like 40 symptoms of dehydration, but what impact does it have on like our cognitive abilities, not just our physical abilities, but using our brain and thinking and being creative?
Oh, absolutely. Let me just look through the list here and see which ones align with, because some of them are physical ones. Okay, blood pressure issues, dizzy or lightheaded, tired, fatigued, lacking energy, can't sleep, nervous, can't relax, depressed, feeling upset, feeling sad. So these are heavy-headed, racing heart.
Right, yeah.
And those are more to do with the mental type phenomena, but I mean, they're all connected. And the CalMag, what's important about that is calcium is your most abundant mineral. And magnesium in relation to it is the next most. And then you need all the other minerals because your body needs those to work with the cells. And a good example for people to understand a bit better on that, if your electricity comes into your house and your lights are working, your computer's working, all your electrical appliances are working, no problem,
right,
then your electricity is good. But as soon as there's interference, you might get flickering or a mild kind of all different symptoms. In the worst case, a blackout. And if you can relate that to body death. So if you take that picture and then if you look at it, the minerals are the electrical that create the electrical current in your body. So your central nervous system is in your brain. So in order for your brain, the message to go from there, let's say you put your finger on the hot stove.
Ouch.
And I've done that. So if you put it on the hot stove and if your electrical current is working well, you'll pull your finger back very quickly and you won't get burnt. But if your electrical current of your body is not working, by the time the message goes from your finger to your central nervous system and then back to you to move that finger, it's already, the delay is already causing a problem. You now burnt your finger. And then another good one is like if you step out in the road and there's a car coming and your electrical current is working well, you'll jump back rapidly and you won't get hurt.
Right.
But if your electrical current is not working, your response time is going to be much poorer. So you could get hurt or whatever. So the electrical current of the body, that's how it works. It needs minerals to function. So in the worst case scenario, body death. I mean, people end up, there's certain symptoms of severe dehydration that need urgent medical attention. And you can get into confusion, seizures. I mean, you can even die. It can be that bad. But not that I like to discuss that part of it, but at least just give some reality, the extremes of it.
Right. Because again, you know, like you said, you know, we think drinking water, you know, we're hydrating. We think with the food that we eat, you know, that we're getting the minerals that we need. So we don't consider how diet actually affects us.
Absolutely. And, you know, what you just brought up there now made me realize there's another thing that I just need to enlighten people about too. Way back when, the soil had lots of minerals.
Right.
Yeah. And then I know. Then the plants absorbed those minerals from the soil, and then they were very loaded with minerals. Then the cow comes along and eats that plant, and it gets the minerals. So back in the day, we were getting minerals. But with all this nonsense, the GMO and the chemical fertilizer and all the stuff that they're doing to things, those minerals are missing. So you think you're getting minerals, but you're not. But the sea salt, thank goodness, we can still get. Now, you know, here's an interesting point, Chris.
Yeah.
You know the word salt. You know where it comes from.
I don't.
Salary, pay.
Huh.
Because remember back in the day when the sailing ships sailed around the world and they traded with all these different countries and stuff, they got paid with salt. So their pay was salt. And it's that vital for life. Anyways, just wanted to tell you that because that was our pay when we sailed around the world.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So there's so much people don't know, and it affects them, their work, their relationships, and so many things, and moods, you know, so many things. So if you're well hydrated and you're well fed, then you can achieve your goals and get out and do what you want to do, and, you know, just get out there, be a good sportsman or be a good or a businessman, whatever, you know. Yeah. So, that's kind of the basics.
Interesting. So is that where stress comes from then? Is stress a response to dehydration?
Yep, it's one of the things. And and a shortage of calcium, magnesium, definitely stress is a major factor. Yeah. So your minerals are your key. I mean, they're even more important than the vitamins. The vitamins can't even be utilized in the body if you don't have the electrical current working. Because that's what carries, you know, the messages and signals and all kinds of things. And the reason that I'm favor the Celtic sea salt, the pink salt is fine, but it sometimes you're not sure if it's got iodine in it. And iodine is crucial for the thyroid. And the thyroid is the gland that works with your metabolism. And that's where radiation and all kinds of things get absorbed in there. And if you're low on iodine, then it's easy for the radiation to be absorbed. And even if you're low on calcium and all these things, there's all different radiation particles that have their own, let's say strontium 90, for example, is a radiation particle, and it mimics calcium. And then you've got all the different minerals have got their own mimickers. So if you're low on calcium, for example, then your body will absorb radiation into the bones. If you're low on iodine, then your body will absorb, different parts of the radioactive particles. That's why when people fly a lot and the pilots, very often the pilots get put on psychiatric medication because they're being affected by the radiation. And I've got this other information, which I won't go into now, but and now we've got a pilot flying that plane I wouldn't even get in a car with a drunk taxi driver.
Right.
There's so much information, and people who fly a lot get a lot of radiation.
Yeah.
Because they're up there, especially if they're flying over the North Pole and stuff like that.
Right. And radiation is one of those things where I was reading a book about an astronaut and how they get a lot of radiation when they're in the International Space Station or in a space shuttle. So, being able to, study the body's effects of radiation is one of the purposes of the astronauts living extended periods of time in space.
And there's actually a program, that detox program I told you about. One of the major parts of that program is to detox the radiation. And we can discuss that another time, but it's like really, really important because unfortunately radiation is cumulative. So it loads up in your body and it keeps adding more because there's no way for it to get out. You can always test. In South Africa, I had a formula with with the vitamins, and there's a vitamin niacin, vitamin B3, but not niacinamide, not the one that's got a suppressor on it, but niacin. If you take a niacin, and I wouldn't encourage anybody to take more than maybe 25 milligrams to do the test on themselves. And then if they get like red flush or itching or you'll see the reaction on your skin. And you can feel it. If you got that, then you know you got radiation. And of course, I think I know everybody's got it, but just for your own, if some people like to play around and do stuff. So,
yeah, the people with low risk tolerance or high risk tolerance, they're going to go right now and do that.
Let me see if she's talking nonsense or not. Yeah.
Well, what's interesting too is like as I'm hearing you share all this information, it's like how are our bodies not just chronically confused all the time?
A lot of them are. I'm serious. A lot of them are, but a lot of people are kind of nutrition inclined. But people that eat all like the McDonald's and all live on that type of thing, and you see all these health conditions. And I have never. I cannot believe the size of some people that I see. It's unbelievable that they can be that large. and a lot of it, there might be some there's obviously can be a body malfunction that's creating that. But in a lot of cases, it's, oh my gosh, it's the so-called food that's got no nutrition in it anymore. That's another subject I can talk about, and that's about blood sugar. But and some people just have good control of it, and if you know about it, you can handle it. So that's why I like helping people, because I know enough about it, so I can help with it.
Because I imagine detoxing from, drugs and alcohol is probably very similar to detoxing from sugar.
Yep. And I mean, that's another whole subject. If you ever want to have another discussion with me, I'll talk to you about what happens to the particles of alcohol or stuff and what happens to them and how they affect you later in life, and drugs and alcohol and all that too. Yeah. So, because that's another subject as well, because it's very important, to understand these things.
Yeah. One of the most important things that I think we should probably talk about too is sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Because we live in a culture that's like worshiping the hustle and, you'll sleep when you're dead and that kind of thing. But like, really, how much does a good night's sleep really affect us?
Okay. So the body's repair process takes place when you're sleeping. The natural repair process and the rejuvenation. So you need enough sleep. You need I get at least 8 hours sleep a night, but you need at least 7 to 8 hours sleep a night. And the repair process, and also there's just so much, and that the body really needs to be well rested, because that's part of being in good condition and having your mind, so you're alert and all that. There are a lot of people who don't sleep or can't sleep, like you said, and that is very destructive. But I've never personally had that problem, and nor did my kids. The day they were born, I started them on CalMag. And then I used to give them cell salts, which is those tissue salts. There's ones with 12 minerals in them. I used to give that to them when they were tiny, and I let them eat as much of that as they wanted, because you will automatically stop when your body's got enough. I never knew when they were teething. I never had colic. I never had any drama. And like I joke and say, when my son, the first I found out that he had teeth was when I put my finger in his mouth and he bit off. Because these things are so important, and it's just the missing basics that make people, and you do need sleep. The body's got a repair process. In a few hours, or maybe even minutes, certain cells are replaced, and then in a few hours, other cells are, and in a 7-year cycle, your body is the cells are completely replaced. Or now, if you're putting in good stuff, your body's gonna be either maintain good or do better. If you keep putting in the bad stuff, it's just gonna get worse and worse and worse. As you see.
That doesn't sound promising.
Yeah, because you want to repair. You want your body to repair in the right direction, not in the wrong direction.
So what are a few ways we can improve our sleep, other than minerals, of course?
Yeah, no, that's a key thing. I've got a nutrition program on my site. I don't sell those ingredients, but I so strongly recommend them, because never mind the sleep, there's also the digestion, and there's all these things that we've been talking about. Your body needs good basic nutrition. And this program is very simple. It's got things like brewer's yeast in it. It's got lecithin in it, which is an emulsifier. And it's got all the basic things that your body needs. And then obviously, along with the CalMag and the salt, you're getting your basic stuff. And especially if it's from all walks of life, whether you're mom and you don't go out, whether you're baby, or whether you're dad, whether you're an athlete, whatever, we need these things. Basic nutrition, just simple basics that will help with sleep. The brewer's yeast is so vital. It's loaded with B vitamins, and in the right balance. It's natural. It's not like 25 of each milligram. It's got its own balance. And it even helps with your digestion and your bad bacteria. It replaces the bad bacteria and grows good bacteria in the gut. There's just so many benefits.
Oh, interesting. So when you say brewer's yeast, like the yeast they would use in beer?
Yep. Huh? That's the true one. Yeah.
Interesting.
That is, I've been using that for over 40 years.
Oh, wow.
But you got to find the non-GMO brewer's yeast, and then brewer's yeast and lecithin are very key in this whole mix. But people can go on my site and look for how to build a healthy body. And, And it's really, I mean, when I was pregnant with my first kid, I've been using it since that time. And unfortunately, I'm a naughty girl. I don't do it all the time, but I take Brewer's tablets if I don't do my right thing. So, yeah.
I have this mental picture of you as like a mad scientist in the lab, like combining all of these things. Is that where it started for you? Was like just exploring and trying things?
No, actually, you know what? I found this nutritionist more than 40 years ago. Her name is Adele Davis, and she's actually an American. I found her nutrition books. So I've been following them. And then even something, I mean, she's got a thing called the Pep Up formula, which is kind of pretty much this nutrition program, plus the CalMag and a few other things. And then when I came to America, I found out about Dr. Royal Lee, who is the Standard Process founder. He's not around anymore, nor she, but their stuff totally makes sense. And I've had my own personal experiences, and I worked in chiropractic offices, and I've seen the benefits. Yeah, so it's very interesting. But those are stable. I've always kind of been this kind of person, but I'm not like a what you said, the mad scientist going. I just if I find something works and I get the benefit, then it's real for me. Then I share that information with others. Yeah.
And then I imagine too, as you share it and people experience the same things, then it only makes the impact stronger.
Sure. And it's more like my whole purpose is to help people. And my main purpose is to help people get their bodies sorted out so they can get attention off their bodies and out into life and live and have fun and enjoy and achieve their goals. Because if you've got all kinds of body issues, where's your attention?
Right. The body issues.
Exactly. It sucks you in. And I have to try to help people to get attention off their bodies by helping them build healthy bodies.
Well, one of the groups of people that you're probably speaking to right now are young creatives in their 20s and 30s who treat their bodies as if they're never going to age and they're never going to have any problems with them. But as we all know, as we get older, our body, you get the aches and pains. How can they prepare for a creative future in their 40s and beyond?
The same thing. It's simple, basic. It's for everybody. And even babies can be put on this thing. So it's like if they just do those basic things, and they will be building a healthy body. And they will keep it going. And if they're exercising or going towards their goals and working hard, long hours or whatever, if they keep their body basics in, they will be able to cope with it all and come out on the other side. I'm 71, and I can tell you now, the young people around me battle to keep up with me. Because I don't walk, I stride, and I like go, you know? Mm-hmm. They call me hyperactive, but anyway.
That's because they're jealous.
I don't know. It's like a lot of people can't keep up with me, and that's just the way it is. You know, you build a healthy body, then you can stomp around and do the splits and work till late at night and catch your sleep, and you know if you're well nourished and you've got all your minerals and stuff, you'll sleep well. And I don't have sleep issues. I never have. Mm-hmm. So I think it's the basics of these things.
So interesting, Desiree. So what's one thing you want to tell listeners to take away from this conversation right now?
I would encourage you to build a healthy body and keep your eye on your mountain. You know, whatever your goals are, keep going. And if your body is pulling you back from it, look and see, okay, it needs this or that, and give it that, and then you keep going.
So what's your mountain that you have your eye on?
Well, I want to get this whole veteran soup kitchen, this is a big deal. Setting up at the Air Force Base in Indiana and even here and many Air Force bases, and helping the veterans. And there's even some sex trafficked girls organization outside near me that we're also going to be getting the same program in for them, so that so they're healthy. And because can you imagine being sex trafficked? You can only imagine that trauma. So any way you can help people, uplift them and make sure physically they're in good shape, then you can help them mentally.
Yeah. And I just have to say, you said you're 71 years old. We can only hope to have the same energy, the same passion for life that you have. Thank you so much for being an inspiration to, I think, the people, 10, 20, 30, 40 years from that, thank you. That's quite an example.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's love. It's fun. Life is fun.
There's the title of the episode right there.
Life is a game.
Well, as we wrap up, what book, podcast, or resource is currently blowing your mind right now?
I would encourage people to get it's ancient and you have to go on Amazon and try and find some old copies, but the Dale Davis, Let's Get Well, from a body point of view.
Well, Desiree, thank you so much for being a guest on Getting Work to Work and sharing your passion for a healthy body. And thank you. It's fascinating.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. It was fun talking to you.